Pregnant people of Reddit, what's the rudest most unwelcome thing someone has said to you about your pregnancy? Not me, but a female co-worker is pregnant with her second child. Her first passed away due to unforeseen circumstances, and another co-worker commented on it. "Oh, I bet you're so excited. I bet you won't ever let this one out of your sight. We were floored." Oh my god, that is so insensitive. When I was on the operating table having a C-section with my oldest, I kept asking, "Where's my baby? Where's my baby? Why aren't you talking to me?" because I'd felt them pull him out but hadn't heard him crying yet and no one would acknowledge me at all. One of the nurses looked down and said in this horribly snide voice, "Guess you aren't the star of the show anymore, huh?" Oh my god. What an awful see. The fact that no one was acknowledging or reassuring you is bad enough. While my wife was pregnant, we went to a Renfest in Michigan and a man selling pickles asked her, "Is it congratulations? Or are you just fat?" I wanted to laugh, but the murder in her eyes made a good argument against it. I've had a couple wonderful comments, but the most unwelcome was, "At least if you lose this baby, you can always try for a girl. I'm currently expecting my second son." My husband and I announced that we were pregnant to the family this Easter. At the time I was 12 weeks along. Last October we lost our first pregnancy at 11 weeks and it was horrible. His grandmother had the nerve to respond, "Well, I mean, it's not as exciting as the first time you were pregnant, but at least you're farther along than the last." I cried in the guest room. It's not as exciting as the first time you were pregnant. There is no legitimate reason to say this. Was pregnant with my first at age 24/25. I was shopping at a local pharmacy convenience store in which two elder ladies started to use that shocked sarcastic tone between each other, making sure I could hear them. The topic was, "Oh, what a shame it is for all these children to having children. Teenagers should just learn how to keep out of trouble" type exchange. I realized they were talking about me, assuming I was a pregnant teenager, and I too was too bloated to wear my wedding ring. So I chimed in, "Yes, it's a shame when teenagers don't plan their pregnancies or use birth control. I'm just glad I was smart enough and waited until I was married and in my mid-20s to have my family." I then checked out in a very glorious, but awkward silence. Handled that so much better than I would have. I'm gonna keep that in mind now, but I'd probably throw in a C at the end. A few days ago one of my patients was asking me about training and my schedule, and it came up that I won't be able to travel for away rotations because I'll have a newborn. She asked if I had a newborn, and I reiterated that I would have a newborn in a week. She told me she didn't think I was pregnant, just really fat, and she'd been wondering how I was going to be a good doctor if there were simple things I couldn't do. I couldn't bend down to the ground to put her shoes on her feet. Then she grilled me on my lack of wedding band. I haven't been wearing my rings because they don't fit, because I am nearly 39 weeks pregnant. I am having a baby in a week, but I don't look pregnant. K. Oh ho ho ho, do I have a story for you. So my friend gets married and then a few years later pregnant. She didn't stop working out but kept it light and made sure to keep figure and all that. Holy crap, those comments. Things like, "You are going to kill your baby if you keep working the way you do. Do you want a miscarriage? Teaching your child anorexia at an early age, huh? Don't bother trying to lose it. Once you get pregnant all that extra weight stays there for life. At least you trapped the man now." Given all of her friends gained massive weight when they were pregnant and my friend still maintains a slim figure, they think she has issues, but meh. I am probably late to the party but I have to. When I was pregnant with my first, I worked at a small, local cafe that had apartments for teen moms upstairs. I look young. I regularly get eyed. More than once someone asked if I lived upstairs. No biggie until this lady followed up the question with, "Oh, I assumed you were a teen mom based on your tattoos. You seem like you have made a number of bad choices." Number 2. My baby was born via emergency C-section. It was either cut her out, or she would die. Not a happy situation. A friend who went through hours of labor almost died. Her baby almost died. Both spent days recovering and signed multiple documents to say she was refusing a C-section. Told me she felt so empowered because she didn't give in and have a C-section. Because, you know, it's really a cop-out. A friend of mine had twins, and when they were babies, Lots of people asked if they were natural, meaning did she conceive them the old-fashioned way, or were there infertility treatments involved. She was always like, no, they're synthetic. Well, there was alcohol involved, and maybe some strawberry lube, but yeah, it felt natural, so. Someone saw me, the father, standing next to my pregnant wife. Holy crap, you found someone to breed with? God help the world. This sounds like something I would more or less say to a close friend of mine, but we're just buttholes to each other like that. I lost a ton of weight after my first was born, about 110 pounds. The store manager where I worked would always comment on my weight loss, little things like I was wasting away, etc. Anyhow, I get pregnant with my second, and as soon as I started showing, wow, you just keep packing that weight back on. Huh, must be hard. All that work you did was for nothing because you just keep packing that weight back on. It seems so petty and small, but it hurt. I worked really hard to get in shape, and here this bee was getting a lot of joy out of tearing me down. ETA. Sorry, I went to sleep shortly after posting. She was a little overweight, but certainly not obese. At the point she said this, I knew I wasn't going to be working there anymore once I hit 8 months. I worked stock and receiving, so it was easy to avoid her as I worked under the operations manager. I didn't say anything to HR because I didn't see the point. The company I worked for is a huge corporation and I couldn't see them caring. Also, I didn't gain over 100 pounds with my first pregnancy. That's a little scary. I was overweight before I got pregnant. That and pregnancy and the stress of a new baby and no self-control equals obesity for me. Living well is the best revenge. We're all healthy and happy. I just turned 30. I have 2 kids, and I get carded more now than I did at 21. Feels good, man. Your pregnancy is going to be much easier at 110 later to start. You did not do all that work for no reason. Your baby will be healthier and you will have a healthier pregnancy. Also, just the fact that you lost that amount of weight is amazing in itself. It's not really your baby because you're on Medicaid. It's mine because I paid for it with my taxes. My lovely mother. By the way, I was working and also paid taxes. People get really freaking weird about what they think they're entitled to through their taxes, as though they're the only people who pay taxes. I'm currently a week from my due date and 2 incidences come to mind. In a conversation between 2 co-workers during lunch, I heard one say to the other, UHH. No, Kelsey, if you're fat then I'm the gummy bear is like, the sun. They were sitting right next to me. When I first started announcing the news at work, an older guy that worked in a different department sat down next to me while I was eating lunch, leaned in and whispered in my ear, now that you're pregnant, can I call you fatty yet? That one got him fired. Frick you Jim, you creepy fricking douche canoe. So glad they fired that guy. What a weird and creepy thing to say. My aunt was told by her Phil that if she had a girl, they'd get nothing. If they had a boy, he'd pay them $5,000, so the family name could be carried on. Thank God she had a girl. The man is horrible and would have corrupted that child. This same man asked a travel agent if she was ovulating when he talked to her since she seemed nice and wanted my former uncle to impregnate her so he could get his grandson. My aunt had divorced her husband by that point. I was adopted and my mom hadn't been able to get pregnant before. When I was around 2 years old she finally managed to get pregnant. My aunt told her that she was praying to God that my mother would lose the baby because she thinks my mother wouldn't love me as much as her biological child. Mom started crying and dad screamed at her and punched her husband in the face when he said he agreed. She miscarried. Holy family drama, that's dark. My parents were in their mid-40s and had 3 grown children by the time they were blessed with my presence in the womb, so they got a lot of the usual dumb questions like if I was an accident or if I was an IVF baby, which I was neither. However, my mom told me that when she was in the hospital to get prepped for her C-section, the nurse asked her if I was the source of a second marriage. When she told her that she's been married to my dad for 20+ years, the nurse basically said, "You're either crazy to waste another 18 years of your life or this baby was an accident." To which my mom replied that after 3 miscarriages in the past 10 or so years that I was indeed planned and that the nurse can go frick herself. You must have gained 30 pounds already. total stranger at the grocery store who had never seen me pre-pregnancy. I was 34 weeks and had struggled to gain the 8 pounds I had. I worked at Walmart, being touched across the counter and also being asked what it is I would tell them a dog. Or if they found out I wasn't married, being asked why I was have a kid. I told them because my daddy wouldn't get me a puppy, and her name will be Bob. I had fun with the dumb questions. Our first son is adopted and I'm 33 weeks pregnant with a baby girl. It kills me when people congratulate me on having children of my own. My son is just as much my child as our baby girl is. How far along are you? Looks at belly. Are you sure? Along the same lines. Should you really be eating that? There won't be any more room for the baby. I'm freaking 4 minutes and 11 seconds. Where else is the extra weight supposed to go? My own family denying me of food they believe is unhealthy for me due to silly superstitions and non-medical knowledge. I'm not talking about raw meat or anything but stuff like mangoes because it's too hot. Chinese people will understand what that means. Indian. But we have the same random hot cold food ideas. Absolutely random. God forbid if you mention heartburn around my grandmother. Somewhat relevant. My wife has a 5-year-old son. The son's father was never in his life. My wife's friend has just found out that she's having a baby and says to my wife, at least the father of my baby will be around. You're having a girl, aren't you? I can always tell. Girls steal your beauty. Relative who was subsequently disowned. Dang. That's a cold one. I'm saving it in case I ever encounter a pregnant lady I despise. During my first trimester, I was taking to someone about going out to get ice cream for my birthday. A person told me the little one doesn't need a lot so don't eat too much. I don't keep ice cream at home, so it was really a special treat. It's like I just can't eat a normal amount of ice cream on my birthday. I got a small like I was planning on it. Screw the mini. It was my birthday. People treat you like you are just an incubator and no longer a person. WTF, I go through small tubs of Haagen-Dazs chocolate chip like it's nobody's business. I'm pretty sure it's okay. If you keep growing like that you'll have a 10-pound baby. Was it planned? Yes. But why? From a male co-worker. Have you been practicing your kegels? And the best one, why would you plan a bastard child? My first trimester, I brought Ziploc bags with me wherever I went and was throwing up on buses and subways frequently. The looks people gave me, or the snide comments. I've had people tell me I'm obviously an alcoholic, I need to get my life together, or that I'm a mess. Once, I managed to get off the train in time and was vomiting into a snowbank, and these college kids walked by me and went up. Wasted and in between heaves I said no. Pregnant and these freaking jerks said I got herself accidentally knocked up so I held up my hand to show my wedding rings while still heaving and said no. Married and trying for a baby and after a miscarriage, I'm pregnant, leave me the FK alone. So I got crazy sick with my second kid, uncontrollable barfing, 30 plus times a day. I was hospitalized 9 times by the 11th week for ketones in my urine, dehydration, electrolyte imbalance, malnutrition when I got a permanent IV line, PICC line, and home healthcare so I could mainline massive amounts of antiemetic drugs and give up trying to drink and just do IV hydration. Random people everywhere. Oh, have you tried crackers and ginger ale yet? Because I totally went for a PICC line without first trying the easiest least invasive treatment. Runner up. Oh yeah, my wife had horrible morning sickness. 2. She threw up every day for a month. It was horrible. Please, tell me again how horrible it was. I never got that lucky and I wish I had it that good. I always like the when is your due date question, and people always act surprised that it's so far away. On TV when a woman is full term she usually looks like she is 6 months tops. In reality we get big and most of us don't have personal stylist to makes the belly look cute. On the other hand, one time I got asked when my due date was and enjoyed the look of fear when I told the woman last Monday, I'm fat, so I never look pregnant, just fatter. Once a pregnant girl asked to another girl for a seat in the subway. Then the seated girl answers something like, it is not my fault that you frick a man without a car. I feel bad for finding this totally hilarious. I'm late to the party. But as a lesbian, I got a lot of how questions. They could not fathom the process of getting pregnant on a dude. Many of them assumed that I went out and slept with a bunch of guys. Like, WTF people. I'm married to a lovely woman and she's just okay with me sleeping with a bunch of random guys to get pregnant. Sperm banks. Those things, where you get sperm. They've been around a long time. Please tell me you got one of those intense, impassioned looks on your face and said something along the lines of God is just so good. If you pray for something hard enough, anything can happen. This isn't really rude, but what got incredibly annoying was people at work saying things like you're still here or some sort of variation of that. For approximately the last 3 months of my pregnancies. No B. Actually I had my fat pregnant butt cloned and the real me is sitting home with my feet up and eating cookies all day. I'm 8 months and still really small, like barely showing. One person has accused me of lying about faking my pregnancy because I don't post ultrasounds and OB appointment recaps on Facebook. I've also had several people ask me if there was something wrong with me or the baby because I'm still so small. No B, I just have strong abdominal muscles I guess. This happened to my wife when she was pregnant with our second. For clarity, our firstborn was born with fibula hemimelia, think Oscar Pistorius, and was wearing his prosthetic leg. He was 2. A complete stranger approached my wife at the supermarket checkout and asked if she was pregnant. My wife said yes, and what she got back made me pleased I wasn't there when this happened. That's a bit selfish, isn't it? What if this one comes out deformed as well? My wife laughed in her face, turned to our son and said, "Look buddy, that's what a stupid person looks like. Your wife is pretty amazing. I think I'd have seen red." I am currently not wearing my wedding ring at 36 weeks. My feet, legs, hands, and fingers are swollen so much I feel like a Macy's Day Parade balloon. Oh, is everything okay with you and the daddy? No, I ate him. Get out of my face or I will eat you too. I'm overweight. I know this. At 12 weeks pregnant, I wasn't showing yet. It was just fat. But I was at work and a woman asked how far along I was. So I told her. Then she said you might want to have them double check your due date. That's just about the rudest thing I have ever read. How much weight have you gained so far? Are you sure it's not twins? I only gained 20 pounds with both my pregnancies. Yike. It was during Christmas and my alcoholic mother congratulated my fiance after I told her I was pregnant. She said congratulations on finding the most useless S in the world to knock up. Her only talents are spreading her legs and ruining lives. I threw a cup in her face and it broke her nose. She has since stopped drinking and is now actually a sort of nice person. You are really starting to get big. And fat too, granted it was my 7-year-old. Very honest child. But Jesus dude. Tone it down. My 7-year-old niece said wow, you're as big as a houseboat, jerk. My sister told me morning sickness was all in my head as I was about to vomit after being presented with a plate of scrambled eggs. Guy here. Had a girl in class who was fat and pregnant, so she didn't look pregnant. We got back from lunch and she was rubbing her belly lovingly. I had a crush on her so I was looking for an opener and almost mentioned how she must have enjoyed her lunch. Decided not to because she might think I was calling her fat. This is slightly awful but it made me laugh. I was at my cousin's baby shower. She was due just a few months before me, and there were about 20 people in a group sitting. I believe it was my cousin's Mill, who I've only met once before, decides to address me from across the room. "So, how long were you trying for?" I was so stunned by the nature of the rather personal question being asked of me in front of half family and half strangers. So uncomfortable. Since I was 12, is always good. Time for my favorite mother-in-law story. When my wife was pregnant, the kid loved being as far back as possible. Super chill and relaxed I guess. So while she definitely showed, she was never at that point of how does she still have a baby in her, around the 7-month mark. We were together for Thanksgiving. My wife had purchased a new sweater that was comfortable, because that's the most important thing when you have a baby on your spine. But anyway, the Mill busted out the line, "Are you trying to look fat instead of pregnant? We have a strained relationship." My mom was once in elevator and a couple was behind here. They were loudly whispering about how big my mom was and wondering if she was carrying triplets. My mother-in-law told me that no matter what the baby looked like when she was born, he was still going to be a brown baby and therefore not as meaningful as her daughter's white son. I got pregnant, definitely by accident, in high school in my junior year. My first thought was abortion, but I had a Juno moment and couldn't go through with it. I decided instead to place my child in an open adoption. I briefly considered parenting, but I wanted more for him than what I could provide. It was still a hard time going through school starting to show. One of the only reasons I stayed was acting class. Most of the kids basically worshipped the teacher. Everyone was so fun and open, and the auditorium felt more like home than home did. Unfortunately, during lunch period as I walked by the teacher's office, I overheard him saying I should get over myself and have an abortion. And he wasn't talking to another teacher. He was talking to other students having lunch with him. I was trying to make one of the biggest decisions of my life and he was mocking me, making it seem like I was staying pregnant for the attention. Cause nothing brings the boys to the yard like morning sickness. I dropped out shortly after that, but jokes on him and everyone else that thought I couldn't go through with it because he's been placed with his wonderful, loving family for years now. We see each other quite frequently, and I even graduated on time. Suck it, high school drama nerds. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.